Welcome back to another episode of the Uplevel, your online business show with me, Sarah. I thought it would be really great today to do an episode about something that I get asked a lot, especially by people who come in on strategy calls with me and people who just really want to make a change in their business. They know that they have so much more to give and they're just kind of not at the level that they really want to be at. And so a lot of the times it's kind of like, well, how do you know when is the right time to make that investment in your business? And honestly, I feel like so many people actually don't make the investment soon enough. That was generally me. That was one of my biggest problems is I was never making investments quickly enough in order for me to really see my business take off. And so I want to talk to you about a lot of different investments that I've made in my business, which ones have been the most worthwhile, which ones have been the least worthwhile. And my best advice for you, my best, like very, very honest advice for you, if you're thinking about investing in your business, what you should be investing in, etc. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is this whole like why it takes us so long to invest into our businesses. And a lot of the times people, and I'm assuming that you would probably say this about yourself, is we feel like we cannot invest in our businesses because we have not made enough money to justify an investment. So, complete beginners, this is a very, very common thing that I hear. It's like, well, I haven't even been generating money to invest in my business. And here's the thing, especially with online businesses, we have to be so careful about the way that we talk about this. Because if you had a brick and mortar business, so let's say, for example, you owned a clothing store and you really wanted to open up a clothing store. Would you open up a clothing store with no clothing? Would you open up a clothing store without investing any money in rent in a specific place to own the clothing store? No, right? That makes absolutely no sense. You'd be like, no. But it's really interesting because a lot of people want to start online businesses without investing any money into them. And what happens there is that you get a ton of people who want to start online businesses without investing a dime into them. And think about it. If something's super duper easy to do, it's almost always incredibly oversaturated. So that's the first problem, right? You can't start a clothing store the same way that you can start an online business with zero capital. So therefore, not as many people start the clothing store and everyone starts the online business. So automatically there, you have a lot more competition. And what happens with a lot of that competition is a lot of it is really shitty competition, in all honesty. A lot of people are starting online businesses and they have no idea what they're doing. They're just like, they know that posting is free, so they just start posting and they just create a ton of noise. And so what ends up happening is you have all of this noise going on in the online space because everyone's trying to get somewhere just by posting things. And so, because posting is free. And so you post and post and post, and you see all these people posting, and they're creating a whole bunch of noise, right? And so what then social media channels need to do is they need to say, okay, well, we can't keep on putting this noise out to people who aren't really interested in it. And so we need to limit it because we want people to continue to use our social media apps. So in order for people to continue to use our social media apps, we need to limit the really crappy content that they see. So automatically there, if you have crappy content, if you don't know how to post really, really great content, you're automatically going to get limited in any type of feed. That's not necessarily your fault. It's just because there's a specific skill set that you need in order to get really great content into a feed, right? So that's kind of like number one, just thinking about it from the bare minimum, right? If you want to do the bare minimum in your business, you have to understand that there are thousands of people trying to do the bare minimum and trying to make money doing the bare minimum. And so what happens is the starting point, the bar is really, really low, which means that there's a ton of saturation with people doing the bare minimum. So you can no longer do the bare minimum in order to actually be successful. So can't do the bare minimum to be successful because unfortunately with online businesses, you can't be the same as the person, like you want to be able to invest in your business the same way that the clothing store invests in the clothing and invests in the rent for their business, right? On top of that, those people also need to learn the skill sets of marketing. They need to learn the skill sets of sales. Luckily for you, you don't need to invest in the clothes, right? And you don't need to invest in the actual rent, but you do still need to invest in the marketing and the skill sets in order to get better at it. So that's also another really awesome advantage that we have in the online space is that it costs almost $0 to actually start the business. But then, like I said, the problem is anyone can start it. And so there's an oversaturation. So you need to get incredibly good with either content or funnels and systems. Or, as I say, a combination of both of those things. If you're not really good and if you're not developing skill sets in the combination of those things, it's going to be really, really hard for you to make money online. And so for me personally, I got to a point where I just wanted to learn and I wanted to put myself out there and I just wanted to kind of like do things and see how far I would get. But I knew I had no idea what I was doing. I was like completely honest with myself. I was looking at people who were absolutely killing it online and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And luckily for me, I knew that my time was more valuable than money. And this is, I think, honestly, something that everyone should put into your heads right now. Your time is more valuable than your money. Your money is going to come and go. You only have one life. You only have one decade of your 20s. You only have one decade of your 30s. You only have one decade of your 40s. What are you doing with that time? Okay. And what I realized for myself is that I wasn't doing a whole lot with my time. Okay. I was wasting my time trying to do everything on my own. And so I would do strategies in online business that had no rhyme or reason. Okay. There's still strategies that I would spend hours doing every week that went absolutely nowhere. All of that time went nowhere because it wasn't invested in something that was worthwhile for my business and to actually like push the envelope forward. And so that's one of the first things is understanding that if you have the mentality of, well, I don't need to invest in my business, I can invest in my business after I make money, realize that thousands of other people are doing this exact same thing at this exact same moment, and they're quitting 2, 3, 6 months in because it's not that easy. Because unfortunately, it would be nice if we had just discovered online businesses in 2012, 2013 when things just started. Sure, that could have worked a little bit better, but you would have been one of the first few people to come into it. Now we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are starting online businesses every single day, and they're also quitting them just as quickly because it's very, very difficult to get seen in an overcrowded market. And then, of course, if you're not investing any capital in it, you're just going to end up quitting because you need to make it through that initial point. So, going back to my story, what I did in the beginning that changed everything is I started following business coaches. I started following branding coaches. I purchased a program from one of them where I understood, okay, who am I targeting? Why am I targeting this person? What unique problems do they have? I was like, whoa, I was mind blown. I was like, this is the most amazing information. But that investment only got me so far. And so then after that investment, I had to do another investment. After that investment, I had to do another investment. And then it came to the point where I had to do the investment that cost me multiple thousands of dollars. And I remember sitting on this investment, and I remember I was actually training my brain for a while on it because everyone around me thought an investment like that was absolutely insane. But I knew, and this was back in 2016. Okay, so that was 10 years ago. I knew at that specific moment in time that if I did not do that investment, I would not get to where I wanted to get to. And in that case, what I realized for myself is I would rather do this investment and have it go terribly wrong than waste any more of my precious time doing things that weren't working, doing things that weren't moving the needle forward. And let me tell you, I'm going to be so incredibly honest with you right now because I'm so passionate about this. If you are just sitting down and writing content, you've been doing it for 6 months and you do not have clients, you posting more and doing more content is not going to get you clients. Just going to tell you straight up. And the problem is there are too many people who sit on these opportunities. And so they will go out and they will do their own thing and they don't want to invest in anything. And they will do their own thing for months and months and months and it won't work because they don't have the skill sets for it and they don't have the systems for it. And then they just give up. And then I'm like, you just wasted 6 months of your time going halfway into something where you could have gone all the way into something, completely changed your life, and been like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I did that. But because you were cheap with yourself, because you decided not to invest in yourself, all of a sudden you have just spent 6 months wasting your time. And now all of a sudden, like you're coiling back in because there's too much risk for you to actually fully believe in yourself. Could you believe that? Just imagine that for 1 second. You don't believe in yourself enough to risk money that could be made at any point in time, that you decide to not go after your dreams and then you just give up on them. I don't like that for anyone. That's not how I got to where I got to. And so I'm telling you right now, I had that choice. I had the choice to do that. And I did not do that. And that's what changed everything, is when I decided that I would rather lose the money, lose the thousands of dollars, because I knew I could make it back. I knew that eventually I would come to peace with a bad investment, than keep on wasting my time and not know whether or not I could make it. And once I fully understood that, that's when everything started to change. And this is literally what I tell women all of the time, and women and men who I coach. And it's so imperative, I think, that you take action on the things that you really want to do, because you don't have more time to waste. And this is what I always tell myself when I'm trying to make an investment that I know is a good investment, but I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I want to spend that money. I always tell myself, I don't have the time to waste wondering whether or not I should or shouldn't do this. I just need to do it. I need to come to terms with giving away that money. And then I'm going to come back to myself. And then I'm going to be like, okay, did that work or it didn't work? It doesn't matter. What matters is I made the decision. And I stopped staying in indecision, and I stopped staying stagnant. And so, to answer the question of, is it the right time to invest in your business? If you're even asking yourself that question, it's time. It's time to invest in the thing that you really want to invest in. I don't make decisions easily. I'm not an impulse buyer. I'm not the type of person who just like makes decisions on the spot. I will spend weeks thinking about the next business investment I'm going to make. But if I am there and if I'm already thinking about it, I need to make that decision. Because if I'm not making that decision, then I'm just wasting my time. And I can't waste my time anymore. I do not have time to waste. None of us have time to waste. We all need to be in our dream lives like yesterday. Okay. We all need to be making the money that we want to make yesterday. And so to me, and this is one thing that I do in terms of a mindset hack, is I always ask myself, 5 years from now, is that money going to matter? Is that 10K going to matter? Is that 15K going to matter? Is that 5K going to matter? Like, am I actually going to be like, oh my God, I miss that 5K? Or am I going to say, hey, damn, I finally have clarity. I finally made a decision. And if I make a really solid decision where I do my homework and I do my research on whatever it is I'm going to invest in, 5 years from now, I can be like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I made that investment, because it turned into something so much bigger than I could have possibly imagined. And that's usually what happens. There are some times where I make investments and I'm like, nah, maybe that wasn't as worthwhile. But honestly, the amount of investments that are worth my time versus the ones that aren't worth my time, the ones that are worth my time are the majority of them. And also, as a business owner, you just have to get over that. You have to get over the fact that some of your investments are not going to be the greatest investments. You cannot have absolute certainty 100% of the time that you're making good investments. That's why they're called investments. The stock market crashes. Okay, we're not always in a bull market. Sometimes we're in a bear market. Sometimes we lose money. You can't control it. You cannot time these things, and you cannot control the outcome of your investment. So stop trying to. That's also going to exhaust you. It's going to be a waste of your time. If you can kind of just go after investments and say, yes, this is the thing that I want to do. I don't know whether or not it's going to work out, but I want to try. I want to at least try. I want to at least know that I am deserving of betting on myself in this way. Nothing's ever going to be a waste of your time, because with those investments, you gain back more time by gaining certainty and gaining more clarity around what you're doing and what's going to work and what's not going to work. So I don't know about you, but hopefully you have now finished this episode, or we're coming to the end of this episode, and you're feeling some sort of clarity in terms of what decision you need to make next. And like I said, I don't know about you, but I would much rather live in a place of, I'm so glad that I at least tried that, than a place of, why didn't I just try that? Why didn't I just do that damn thing? You know, money comes and goes. Your time doesn't. So make sure that you're using that time wisely. And just remember, there are business investments that you make that can 10x your outcomes. And you never are going to 100% with absolute certainty know which investments are going to be the ones that are 10x'd. But that's why you have to try anyways, because that's what investing is all about, right? We can't have 100% certainty in anything that we do. We have learning experiences, and it's so worth it to invest in yourself. Take the leap, okay? You're not going to regret it. The only thing that you're going to regret is not making a decision, okay? I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think in the comments. You can hit subscribe if you really like this podcast. And if you want to, start chatting about this episode, let me know what you think. You can always find me on Instagram. It's Sara without an H, JLoureiro. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarajloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.